If there's anything we've learned since this pandemic began, it's this. Caring for your body is the number one thing to focus on to protect our immune system from pathogens that make us sick and to overcome the diseases that increase our susceptibility of getting sick. I'm Diane Kazer, and I want to share the secrets that I've implemented in my life and in the lives of the thousands of clients I've helped around the world over the past 12 years who are radically transforming in ways they couldn't before, no matter what they tried. Overcoming autoimmunity, literally no longer having a diagnosis nor needing medications, breaking through the weight loss plateau to lose 15 to 20 pounds immediately. Confidence, natural beauty, clear skin, a strong body with all the energy. Imagine what it would feel like when you're partnered with your body such that you're in a daily rhythm that feels so freaking amazing. You feel alive, maybe something you haven't felt for a long time. Gaining mental clarity, waking up rested, ready to create a life they want. And now you're here. I want you to finally have the health God made you with innately, so you can do the same. I mean, literally create your dream life, which I'll show you. As long as you believe and conceive it, you can achieve it. I'm going to share something that may trigger you. If you're not waking up energized with the clarity, confidence, and chi life force in your vibrational field to create and manifest a life and body you desire every day, something is off. In my world, that's a zombie life I can relate to, where you walk around feeling lifeless, quadrupolar. Sometimes you feel anxious, sometimes depressed, sometimes angry, and other times like a total failure. Like, what the F? I'm trying all these things to get better and nothing seems to be working. If you're feeling stuck or stagnant physically, mentally, or spiritually, something is wrong. Hey, warrior. If we've never met, I'm Dr. Diane Kazer, former pro soccer player turned naturopathic doctor, certified detox specialist, toxins expert, courage coach, and holistic beauty expert. I've suffered many challenging health conditions and through it all, carefully crafted recovery protocols to successfully overcome them. Because of how complicated it was and how much time, money, and energy I wasted on 95% of things that didn't work, I created a formula that does, to get your results quickly with the least amount of effort, pain, and money spent possible. The ridiculous reality is you've probably never been taught you can overcome any disease, have you? I want you to be able to tap into the healing miracle that you are, being inspired by what I overcame. Things like thyroid disease, Hashimoto's, autoimmunity, adrenal fatigue, which is not even a real thing. It's just an improper diagnosis, urinary tract infections, HPV, herpes simplex virus, Epstein-Barr, candida, parasites, bacterial infections, and things like small intestine bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut, IBS, and toxicity from Accutane, antibiotics, breast implants, Botox, birth control, heavy metals, environmental poisons, and more. All which made me immune compromised, a solutionless diagnosis, when the true spin on it is that your body is on toxin overdrive and the lymphatic system can't clear them out fast enough. But then they call it autoimmune disease. Then they call it an immune system compromise. And really, it's just a simple way of saying your body is on overwhelm. And there's a better way to wellness. And I want to show you how. From the time I was a teenager and as far back as I can remember, I was sick, in and out of the hospital, popping prescription pills like candy, sick every quarter for 2 weeks at a time with a flu or fever, cough or cold. And I was led to believe it was just part of life. The lenses through which I saw the world is probably the same as yours. We catch a cold or a flu from someone else's cooties. We blame them for getting us sick. And the cycle continues. We're a victim of other people's germs. Don't want to get sick like that again? Well, there's a vaccine for that. It's called a flu shot. Repeatedly, every year, without fail, whenever we did that, we got more sick. And the cycle continued, then worsened. I was diagnosed with scoliosis at 13. I've had terrible back pain since then. My periods were awful as a teenager, so I started taking birth control because it was the only solution, which made me feel worse. I gained 15 pounds in 2 weeks, so I quit. I got horrible cystic acne and tried all the medications and creams they gave me, but nothing worked as deeply as the pain I felt from the cysts on my face. You know those kind of cysts where you pop the zit, maybe TMI, but you pop the zit and all kinds of stuff oozes on your mirror and you just feel like a gross big germ. Yeah, that was me. So I was prescribed Accutane. I took it 2 rounds. My skin peeled off like a grape and I felt like hell inside, but hey, at least my acne was getting better. Later to find out, Accutane is actually chemo for pancreatic cancer patients like Steve Jobs. And those toxins permanently damage your insides. This summer, I was recruited to play pro soccer. Urinary tract infections hit me like a ton of bricks and took me off the pitch. Thankfully, they had a pill for that called Macrobin. Yay, more antibiotics. Soon after that, I was diagnosed with herpes, and thank God they had another pill for that, an antiviral called acyclovir. Later to learn, I was misdiagnosed and I really only had HSV, herpes 1, oral herpes, which 90% plus of the population has. This was absolute insanity. There was a pill for every ill and no answer to why was I getting these pain sores, these acne issues. Today, many of us are waking up to the whole viruses are the cause of illnesses. That's a big fat lie. And by this point, I was really feeling hopeless about my health, as there was no other solution than to take these pills, and we didn't know what was going on, says the doctors. In my mind, I'm thinking, I thought doctors were smart. Am I the only weird one that has these issues? Like, I can't be. Gosh, this sucks. I'm so alone with my pain and symptoms, and no one knows how to help me. Definitely helpless, depressed. From there, I was motivated, though, because I knew that there was a way. Where there's a warrior, there's a way. I wanted to research everything I could figure out about what vitamins to take, which helped, at what amount, and for how long. But back then, I didn't have the answer to what might be causing these flare-ups in my body in the first place, i.e. toxins. I had been eating copious amounts of gluten, dairy, GMOs, sugar, processed foods, alcohol, caffeine multiple times a day, basically the standard American diet. Yet no one said anything to me that my diet may have been possibly contributing to this, or that I was filled with toxins, consuming them daily, and they were the main root cause of the issue. Hundreds of visits to doctors and countless blood tests measuring the same things over and over. It felt like Groundhog Day. So I decided to take matters in my own hands, because at that point I was already over $50,000 in the hole trying to figure out the maze of healing my seemingly sick body that doctors kept scratching their heads at, claiming maybe that's just the way that you were born and it's your genes. Well, they didn't say it like that, but that's how it felt in my head, because it feels like a clown show. That was it for me. I started studying everything I could about hormonal health, autoimmunity, gut health, infections, and where they come from, how to treat them, heal pain naturally, etc. I intuited my path to radical transformation would be a multifactorial approach. So I threw the kitchen sink at my symptoms. Maybe you've done the same thing. And maybe any of this even sounds like you and a path that you've been trying to self-heal, in the end coming up short in your goal to alleviate the symptoms, sickness, and suffering you've been experiencing for longer than you'd like to admit. So I started with exercising 1 to 2 hours per day and added yoga to the mix, even became a certified vinyasa and yoga sculpt teacher. I tried all the self-help books that quickly turned into shelf-help books. Tons of summits with free guides and books. I meditated daily and practiced regular breath work, chanted positive affirmations, because maybe that would chase away the negative symptoms. Traveled the world to various shamans, Ayurvedic sages, and wellness gurus. Consulted with hundreds of doctors over the course of 25 years, over 27 countries, from traditional MDs like endocrinologists, dermatologists, immunologists, and gastroenterologists to naturopathic doctors, none of whom got me anywhere but more pills to take without resolve. I tried all the biohacks, cryotherapy, hyperbaric chamber, lymphatic massages, all the cleanses, chlorine dioxide, garlic suppositories, the Candida diet and protocol, the liver and gallbladder miracle cleanse. I tried all the labs, food sensitivity testing, avoided all the things that came up on my list, epigenetics, genetic testing, nutrient deficiencies. I took all the things I was low in. I changed my diets around like underwear because a new study, book, or doctor came out with some new research that meat was bad, so I became a pescatarian. Then I heard mercury was on all the fish, so I ate vegan instead. Then I started competing in bodybuilding competitions, which required eating 6 protein-rich meals a day to stoke the metabolic fire and burn fat while I was sleeping. When my body was on fire and inflamed from stoking the metabolic fire, I turned to a higher fat keto-like diet, but then I was getting constipated and sluggish again. And then I was even told that you don't need to poop it once or twice a week and you'll be healthy, says the doctors. Doesn't even sound right. When you eat 3 meals a day, you should poop 3 times a day. I digress. I took a break from all of that And I went to juicing and smoothies. And then after that, still feeling fat, fatigued, and frustrated, I said, fuck it to all of this, then embarked on a journey to travel the world by myself, where I learned all things like Ayurveda from mentoring under doctors in India who shared their ancient wisdom with me about doshas and herbals unique to each individual. I spent time deep in the Peruvian Amazon jungles with Shipibo tribe leaders dieting ayahuasca and medicinal plants in hopes I would purge my pain for good, which I've sat with ayahuasca over 50 times, and it's amazing. I've tried many other plant medicines as well. But when I got back from all of that, I still wasn't clear from all the symptoms, sickness, and suffering I was hoping to alleviate with all of these efforts that cost me well over, you could imagine, $250,000. Then one day I heard about mercury toxicity and how much this heavy metal destroys your brain, causing Mad Hatter's disease, symptoms that make you feel like you're legit going mad without any rhyme or reason. A light bulb went off. Since I was a kid, every one of my molars had been filled with these poison pockets of aluminum and mercury. And to make matters worse, I didn't know enough about how to properly remove them. So I went to a conventional dentist, big mistake, and had them remove it, all of them at once, which caused my body even more toxicity. Not to mention all the other metals we're exposed to, like fluoride, and are even told to brush our teeth with it to prevent cavities, when the truth is, it drops your IQ 10 plus points by blocking your pineal gland, the part of your brain that channels your intuitive powers and ability to think big and dream deep. You might even be thinking, I used to sleep deep and I have dreams that I could recall. So what happened? Then there's all the P's in personal care products, parabens, phthalates, polyethylene glycol, plastics, and petroleum that destroy and deplete your hormones, which no amount of hormone replacement therapy, bioidenticals, or birth control will repair. And of course, the worst P, plastic surgery, and all the beauty toxins that have never been tested for safety, breast implants, fillers, hair dyes, and Botox included. Personally, the few of those sent me over the edge to the point where I literally thought I was dying, not slowly, but rapidly. Then, even after reducing and completely eliminating them from my life, even explanting my breast implants, I still didn't get all the way better. I'll tell you what did. What did was learning about toxicity and how pervasive it is to all of us today, and the across the board damage they cause to the human body. That was what changed everything for me and the thousands of people I've been helping to cleanse for the last 12 years. What you'll see on this page is several clients I've worked with over the years who learned how to properly remove toxins from their body and environment, unlike me, who did it wrong and paid greatly for it. What these people did to regain their health is not some hyped up one-size-fits-all magic health protocol that applies to everyone. Those actually hurt a lot of people. It's not detox BS like ionic foot baths or some goofy foot pads or patches that stand alone claim to detox your body. And it's definitely not the latest and greatest single pill for all of your ills protocol. This is much better. What I'm going to show you is the breakthrough detox protocol I developed based on the latest and greatest science. So you can use this to improve your whole body and entire health. Give it a little support in the areas that are crawling out for help. The body will gracefully take care of the rest, as pure as God made you. I'm going to go where few health coaches and virtually no doctors even dare to go to help you detox from the most pervasive new chemicals and toxic substances that are silently given the FDA, aka fraudulent demonic asshats, green lights for use in our food and personal care products by the very few people who are supposed to be protecting us. I'm going to show you how to deal with the things like graphene oxide, which is in the most recent jabs and the upcoming ones. Glyphosate, also in the jabs, in our food supply, in the air, in the water that we're drinking, and even spike proteins. There's even widespread speculation that the jabs are causing dramatic blood clots in some people. Worse, the embalmers, coroners, and morticians are being censored from raising the alarm bell. I'm going to show you why obesogens, microplastics, nanoparticles, hydrogels, forever chemicals, and heavy metals are wreaking havoc on your body, that they are innate and they will not leave your body on their own. I'll show you how to eliminate them and how to do so quicker than what your body does now, which is pretty much not at all, especially these forever chemicals, which won't leave on their own, and your fat cells are a sponge too. You guys, no wonder why you can't lose weight. Listen, what's going on with your body, it's not your fault. The fact is that we're all getting exposed to these chemicals, regardless of whether we want to or not. They've spread through the water, the food, and the air. Have you heard of Agent Orange? A poison from World War II they used to kill troops. It's now used and has been for a very long time as an herbicide called Roundup, aka glyphosate, which are blowing from one GMO crop field over to the organic fields of the foods that we are consuming, thinking that we're good. And what that means is that even if you're eating an all organic diet, you're still exposed to these toxins at a higher rate than you've been led to believe. Did you know that according to the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, toxic chemicals are the worst environmental problem in the nation, responsible for up to 80% of cancer deaths? And the average person is riddled with, on average, 700 plus toxins, which cause symptoms, sickness and suffering, infection, inflammation, and immune system dysfunction. It might surprise you that since the 1930s chemical revolution, 100,000 plus chemicals have been introduced into our lives, and of them, less than 2% have been tested for safety. There's very little regulation on them. The small handful of chemicals that have been tested were performed by the companies that profit from them. Surprise, surprise. 2,000 plus new chemicals are still approved every year, even despite what I'm telling you right now, and studies that have proven that toxins are causing these illnesses. And these chemicals that are getting introduced still never been tested for safety. Of the 2,000 new chemicals, only around 10 are tested for neurotoxic effects. In other words, how they might impact your brain. None of them have been tested for how they react with other chemicals. You might be wondering where all of these toxins are coming from. Several I mentioned already that were filling up my personal toxic bucket, and many people who I work with, their toxic bucket looks like, and what are causing yours to spill over within your body are things like heavy metals. I mentioned mercury fillings are also in breast implants, lots of metals in vaccines, poor diet, including glyphosate, GMOs, and gluten, toxic personal care, beauty products, Botox, fillers, cleaning products, poor air quality and mold exposure, electrosmog and Wi-Fi radiation, infections that you might find in your oral and gut mucosa, plus lowered immunity due to stress, plastic and petroleum, which are in prescription drugs and packaged foods, and virtually everywhere in our oceans, in the fish that live in the oceans, the soil of food that we're growing and that we're feeding to our animals, and then we eat those animals. This increased exposure and accumulation of the poisons in your body is what sends you over the edge with symptoms, and then disease, and then a diagnosis, then, pardon me for being the truth speaker, but death. Yeah, toxins are literally killing us slowly. And here are the top 10 signs you desperately need to detox. Number one, hormonal disruption and regulation. That would be all of your endocrine glands, like your thyroid, your adrenals, ovaries if you're a woman, and testes if you're a man. Inability to burn fat and lose weight or gain it. Constipation, diarrhea, and digestive problems. Sick often and prolonged recovery time. Body odor, skin issues, acne, hair loss. Body pain like migraines, headaches, joint pain, and muscle aches. Brain fog. Inability to remember things. Depression, anxiety, irritability, and mood issues. Number 9, chronic fatigue and not feeling rested upon waking. And the last one, autoimmune disease, cancer, and infertility. And this is not an exhaustive list. Every symptom is literally tied to a toxic body and an infected body, which destroys your hormones and makes you more immune to stress and your body's ability to be resilient to it and handle it. The worst part of all of this, you've probably tried all the medications and all the things with little to no resolve of symptoms. Am I right? We're exposed to these things faster than ever in human history. In fact, babies are basically born into a waste dump where the average newborn has over 250 chemicals in their body. This is a sign that the mother's womb is essentially a tangled nest of toxins, all of which are the building blocks to shape the baby's body. That's not good. We're set up to fail the moment we take our first breath. And this always gets me super emotional, extremely passionate, and fuels my purpose to wake up and do what I do each day, beating this detox drum as a path to superhuman transformation, which I pray all moms do prior to conception, and that parents, maybe you, start their kids early on so they're less likely to get sick themselves in the long run. From the ground up and the womb out, the entire world and all of God's creations are being poisoned by toxins. We're at a turning point in history, and the extent to which our environment is sick, we are sick, and vice versa. Our forests were thriving 15 years ago. Now they're dying at an alarming rate. We've lost 80 to 90% of our insect population, 90% of plankton in our oceans, and we've lost 75% of our animal kingdom over the last 40 years. And based on the current trajectory, we will have no functional population of animals by 2026. Global health experts describe us as functionally extinct because we've lost our connection to Mother Nature, our soil, the habitat, animals, and circadian rhythm of Earth. We cannot survive and adapt to an environment that is dying at the rate it is. In just the last 5 years, our ways of life have destroyed 85 to 97% of life on Earth. And based on this, it's estimated that we only have 70 years left of life as we know it. $3.5 trillion has been spent on chronic disease management, which is 4 to 5 times more than history, with no end in sight. It's costing us 6 to 8% more per year to care for chronic disease, and it's estimated we will be spending $5 trillion by 2025. Are you a fan of paying more taxes for disease care? I'm not. Our health and quality of life is no better than it was 25 years ago, even though we're spending more money on finding these cures that are caused by the very thing we're not taught is the problem. And now you know. Toxins, which are contributing to the average human illnesses today. 1 in 3 men and 1 in 4 women are sterile. 1 in 3 women will suffer cancer diagnosis, not including skin cancer, which is the most common. Today, 1 in 36 kids are diagnosed with autism, and by 2040, that number is estimated to be 1 in 3. Some say by 2030. In the 1960s, 4% of people had chronic disease. Today, 46% of kids have at least one chronic health issue. But I'm sure it's just faulty genetics we've inherited. And we can just trust our doctors who tell us your body's already detoxifying itself on its own just fine. Don't listen to those whacked out detox experts like Diane who say you need to cleanse daily. The truth is, we're flat out lied to, gaslit, misled, that your liver does everything you need it to eliminate these poisons at the rate that you're exposed to them. And the proof of that is this: 10% of kids have fatty liver disease, which has more than doubled in the last 20 years, with the main pre-existing condition being overweight and obese. 9 out of every 10 diabetics and people with obesity have fatty liver. And fatty liver disease now impacts over 40% of the adult population. 75% are overweight or obese. So you could bet about half of that have a fatty liver, which means a toxic body. Your liver is your garbage disposal. If it doesn't work, toxins back up, it gets clogged, and waste overpours into other tissues and organs, causing disease and obesity. It's crazy. 80% of women over 40 have stagnant bile flow, which means they're not eliminating waste properly. And instead, toxins are being stored in fat cells, tissues, organs, and in the brain. Total beauty blocker and sex suppressor. And 25% have thyroid disease, mostly misdiagnosed, which also gets blamed. And in many cases, people are told, we need to remove your thyroid gland because it's damaged. More lies. It's not the thyroid's fault. It's simply responding to a toxic and mineral deplete environment. Take iodine, for example. It's the building block to make thyroid hormones. T4 is 4 iodine molecules. T3 is 3 iodine molecules. And iodine deficiency disorders are one of the biggest worldwide public health problems today. But it's not just about taking more iodine or anything you're deficient in. It's about cleansing the body of the poisons that block your body's ability to even absorb the high quality supplements that you take or food that you consume that's rich in iodine. That none of this stuff will work to get into the cells and your body can use it if you're toxic, because the same entrance site in the cell of where these toxins block is the same entrance site for the good stuff too. So as long as the bad stuff's occupying the cell, good stuff can't get in, and it's very expensive urine if you're supplementing with it. And a lot of your efforts to eat a healthy diet just go by the wayside. And this is where it gets defeating. For most who have thyroid disease, it's because the liver is toxic, and hence the whole body is toxic. 70% of thyroid hormone approximately is converted from T4, 4-iodine molecules, which your cells can't use. It's unusable. It needs to get converted to T3 in the liver, which means that if this filter organ isn't detoxing and draining properly, which is the majority of the case for most average humans today, you'll have thyroid disease, not because of your thyroid, but because thyroid hormone can't be used by the body because it's not being converted by a toxic liver. It's doing too much. It's got too many jobs, and it's overwhelmed. Sound familiar? Like work these days, like life. Maybe this is you. And like me, you end up on medications like Synthroid. I actually learned later that the doctors missed autoimmune disease brewing up in my body. I discovered my own Hashimoto's with the lab testing we offer clients, and then reversed it because I addressed the root causes of it, which are things like infections and toxins, especially parasites and heavy metals. That's exactly what I'll teach you how to cleanse in this course and to get rid of it all. Be careful. How much do you trust doctors with symptoms? Because if you go in and tell them you're struggling with something, they'll suggest a gallbladder removal because it might be clogged, when really simply cleansing it so it's not clogged to save the organ might be all that you need. You get the idea? This is not medical advice, but eventually I want you to become your own best doctor and to learn how to listen to the whispers of your body and what it's trying to tell you in the language of symptoms. Because our medical system is failing. It's breaking down, and it has been since it actually even began in the 1930s by Rockefeller. There's now over 1,000 diagnoses, essentially 1,000 boxes for your symptoms to get fit into, with 10,000 plus prescription drugs as solutions that really just mask the symptoms and do nothing for the root cause. In reality, there is only one root cause: toxicity. And the bugs they feed, like parasites, candida, bacteria, and all of the infections that make you sick. At this point, you're probably thinking, first of all this is depressing. And second of all, it sounds like toxins are the problem on why we're so sick today. And if so, you're right. You're probably also wondering, why haven't I heard this from my doctor or health practitioner? Because they haven't been taught this. So it's not their fault. I believe that most humans, doctors, are well-intended when they first get into their craft, but they're just misled that toxins are things that your body naturally can clear on your own. They're taught, and then hence we're taught, that hormones are the problem or bad bugs are the problem. So hence take some more antibiotics, which causes antibiotic resistance and actually is one of the main root causes for a future of immune system dysfunction. Or we're told, nope, you're just getting old. You just need to reduce stress. Just take this pill, try this new diet, make sure you exercise. It never ends, and it never will until you properly cleanse the body, which when you do, it will heal your hormones, gut, brain, and every cell of your body, of which there are 150 trillion of them. 2/3 of you is bug. 1/3 of you is minerals. This is why thousands of studies now show cleansing is the new fitness. ABC, always be cleansing. I've been leading cleanses and detoxes programs for over 10 years. And what I've learned in working with thousands of patients all around the world is that daily detox and living a cleansed lifestyle with as low of a toxic exposure as possible far surpasses results you'll see in diet, exercise, and biohacking alone. Before I get into the solution I created that actually works, I want to share with you what doesn't and the top 5 cleanse fails that I see most people doing, which are the same ones that I tried that never got me across the finish line with the superhuman results you're probably after. Number 1, you are not what you eat. You are what you absorb. Most people think that eating healthier will make them healthier, but it's not true if you've got shit going on in your body. The I in shit, meaning stress, hormone imbalance, infections, and toxicities. So the I, infections and shit, like parasites, will literally eat the nutrition you're putting in your body. An overload of heavy metals will block your cell's ability to absorb minerals that you need for healthy bowels, brain fuel, bones, and hormones like magnesium, calcium, and potassium. And collagen too. All those supplements you're taking to build your beauty and healthy joints, they won't work as long as you're not cleansing these toxins that block your ability to absorb the good stuff. Something else your doctors won't tell you The reason your iron, B12, or any vitamin toxic that might show up as high on labs is because of the infections that hoard them. Don't even get me started on the insanity of donating blood to keep iron levels in check. Bloodletting anyone? The only thing we need to bloodlet is these parasites that are literally eating your nutrients so that you don't get them. Number 2, using cheap or toxic cleanse supplements. This is all too common. When I talk about cleansing the body of poisons and parasites on my podcast, I often hear people say, what you said, Diane, made so much sense. I went to the store and talked to the person in the vitamins department who suggested a few things which I took, but it didn't do much. And my response is, you didn't use a complete detox system intended in the proper order with the most effective ingredients and effective binding and draining agents. So when they try the things that you're learning about here in the Warrior Cleanse protocol, they're blown away because in a short amount of time, they see massive results, which means it's money well spent, right? So no matter how cheap something is, low of a price tag, if it's only 10% effective, it's really costing you 10 times more to be as effective as something that's 100% off the bat, right? That's the kind of results that I'm after and I want for you. Do you? Number 3, using weak binders and detox strategies to carry toxins out of the body. When most people think about cleansing, they think of green juices made from kale and lemon. More advanced people think of cilantro, spirulina, and chlorella. And while these are all good, they are just not powerful enough and won't help you deal with the kind of toxins I'm talking about, at least not if you want them gone for good, especially the forever toxins, which are really dense and very difficult and energy depleting to detox. The white line toxins sprayed in the sky for the purposes of geoengineering, for example, are loaded with dense metals and mold spores and materials that are massively triggering sinus infections, allergies, asthma, respiratory issues, and total immune meltdown, and hence need super strong binders to cleanse them, which is what I will show you how to apply in your life effectively. Number 4, not cleansing for long enough or finishing a cleanse, but going right back to the lifestyle that necessitated the cleanse in the first place. And the reason most of you are probably doing this is because the cleanse didn't focus on educating you where these toxins that poisoned your body came from. And this is such a critical step, which the cleanse in 7 days or less programs won't and don't have time to teach you, because it's just not true. Anyone who sells you a liver cleanse or juice fast and says you're renewed is misinformed, unintentionally. Or anybody who advises you to do a candida cleanse or colon cleanse by itself without addressing other infections like parasites and dense toxins like metals is also misleading you, again, unintentionally. But we need to cleanse your entire body and your environment, which I'll teach you to do in this course. And number 5, the biggest problem I see is cleansing in the wrong order. If you've done a cleanse before, you might have tried a colon cleanse or a liver cleanse, and on their own, these are really good things, but you probably didn't get everything you were looking for out of them. And here's why. When you're cleansing, you really need to work backwards. I call it bottoms up. And these are your exit doors we call drainage. That is the main reason most people are totally blocked and can't lose weight, or who feel worse on cleanses. This is super common, and I don't want you to make this top 5 cleanse fail. While much of what I've said so far doesn't sound hopeful, don't worry, there's light at the end of this toxic tunnel. What if the cure was right here on this page? You're not alone, and you're not broken, and you're not going crazy, and you're definitely not destined to feel this way forever. I thought I was when I was going through my personal hell. People find their way here after trying what feels like everything with many doctors over many years. You heard my story. That was totally me, so I get it. I know what it's like to feel lost and defeated, frustrated, and overwhelmed because of what I went through in my own health journey. This is not rocket science, but it is foreign to modern medical doctors and a lot of health leaders today. Most docs and the recommendations they're programmed to prescribe are decades behind in the research, and natural solutions that actually work are getting buried. On average, it takes up to 17 years for the latest clinical research to even make it to your doctor's office. You don't have 17 years to wait for your doctor to catch up, do you? It's not our job to protest the manufacturers and corporations that profit from our illness with these poisons. It is our job to make more conscious choices to vote with our dollars and consume non-toxic, healthier foods that contribute to our wellness. The very best protest is to ABC, always be cleansing, by doing what I'll teach you in this course. a lifestyle rooted in the most dense superfood, nutrient-rich foods, detox supplements, and holistic health hacks that support your body's ability to detox on its own. So you could avoid the symptoms that take you out, the scary doctor visits, the expensive procedures, and the prescription drugs with 1,111,000,000,000,000 side effects, including diarrhea, depression, and death. Maybe even dismemberment. You never know. This shit's real, man. Have you ever looked at the side effects of every drug commercial? It's insane. It's time for you to make a choice. Continue down the path that you've been on for years, maybe decades, and suffer the continued consequences of a toxic lifestyle, medicated, dumbed down, numbed out, and sick, eventually sick and tired of being sick and tired. Or take a journey with me on the purification process. Detox or die. Detox with Dr. Die or die, that is. If you are over it, the Warrior Cleanse is the formula to cleanse your body, heal the root cause, and ignite your natural beauty, energy, immunity, and vitality all at the same time. So you can finally activate the self-healing body that you were born with. You have everything inside that you need, the health you deserve, and the life that you dream of forever. Are you ready? Let's do this.